Hey everyone, Alex from CNC-o-rama here. And recently I did a couple videos about how to do a bar pull on a lathe with different styles of bar pullers. You can check those out here. Now I have a little bit more philosophical question perhaps, and that is, how do you do a bar pull if you don't have a bar puller? And at first you might say that's impossible, but I have a solution for you, so check this out. All right, so first I'm going to show you the mechanics of how to do this bar pull, and then I'm going to show you the G code of how to program it, and then I'm going to show you how to add that functionality to Fusion 360 or maybe another CAM software that you're using. And then I'm going to show you how to make it reusable so you can quickly do it in the future. All right, so basically what we're trying to do is after our cutoff tool path, we would like our cutoff tool to come stop right where the front of your part should be so you can pull your part out up against that cutoff tool. So the cutoff tool becomes our reference for our pull out, and we are doing a manual pull out here. All right, so let's look at the G code. So here I have my parting tool path at the end of the program. The first thing I should note is that I always put the Z0 as the front of my stock. So if you are doing it a different way, you might need to change this up a little bit. But for me, Z0 is the front of stock on a first stop, which you would be doing on a bar pull here. So I'm going to come to the bottom of my code and do G0 to Z0. And then this might depend a little bit on the size of the bar I'm using. But maybe I want to come to like X.5. So if I have a 1-inch bar, that's going to be kind of in the middle of the upper edge of the face. So I'll wrap it to that point. And now I need an M0 to tell the machine, M0. So the machine stops and waits for me. And then at this point, I could put in even a comment that says, let's see, what would I say? Open door and pull bar. At this point, I've pulled the bar. The bar is contacting the tool, which is always a little bit sketchy situation when the bar is in contact with the tool and nothing's spinning. So I'm going to do a W1, and that's actually an incremental Z move, 1 inch along Z. So now I'm no longer in contact with the bar. Now I can send it away, basically. So I'll go to a home position. So on this machine, normally I go G53, X0, Z, -10. And that's it. So I added, let's see, 5 lines of code. And that will allow me to create my bar pull. All right, so I should add that it's super important everything that comes before this, because if we had been at a bad position to do a rapid move to Z0 and then X.5, something would have crashed and bad stuff would happen. So I should point out that we were at this safe tool change location, and then we came back to the part, and then we ended up sending it back to that same location. So just make sure you're not just cutting and pasting this in, that you're paying attention to where you put it into the code and making sure it's legit. All right, so the whole purpose of using CAM software is we don't have to hand type code. We don't really want to hand type code more than we have to. And so we want to try to automate this as much as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a manual NC. So that's under this setup here, manual NC. So what manual NC does is it allows you to insert code that isn't part of normal toolpaths, basically. So there's all these options for like comment, stop, whatever. What we want to do is a pass through. So pass through, all it is you're typing code in there and it inserts that code into your program. All right, so here's my pass through dialog box. And the first thing I want to do is I just want to test where it's actually putting this in the code. Because in our example, when I hand type this, I put it right before the M30. But I know this manual NC doesn't always put it exactly where you would think. Even though this is below our last toolpath, it's not going to put it right before the M30 like we might want it to. So my test is I'm just going to type some comments in here. So start of pass through. And then I'll put a space in there and then end of pass through. I'm going to click OK on this and let's post our code and look at it. All right, so right here we can see we have start of pass through, end of pass through. And again, this is right, it's kind of still in the toolpath. Like we haven't even stopped the spindle, haven't sent everything home. So again, it's not right before the M30 like we maybe would prefer it to be, but at least we know where it is and we can work with that. All right, so let's look at where we are here and see what code would we want in there. So again, this toolpath above here is the parting toolpath. And the last thing it does is it moves to some X position that is outside the stock. And if our parting toolpath did what it's supposed to, the stock is no longer there. But I always like to be careful just in case the tool broke or something that maybe the stock is still there. But luckily, we are outside where the stock would be if it is still there. And if we go up a little bit, we're at some negative Z where the actual cutoff point is. And we're outside the stock in X. So really, if you think about being outside of stock, all we need to do is come to the front of stock, which in my case is Z0, and then come down in X. All right, so we're back editing our manual NC. So like I just said, we need to go wrap it to Z0 and then come down in X. So I'm going to do X.25. So it's not quite center line, it's a little above. And then just like we did before, we can put in an M0. And I even like to add this comment, just like I did before. Open door and pull bar. And then after that, I always like to use an incremental move. So I'm going to move 1 inch incrementally positive along Z just to clear the part. And then we're going to want to send everything back home or to the safe location where we do our tool changes. Luckily in the code, that code is already there at the end of the program, so we can just stop here. So let's go look at our code. All right, so back in the code, we have our starter pass through, ender pass through, and then everything in between. So just like I mentioned before, we're going to go to Z0, then move to X.25. So that's the position where we can do our bar pull. We have a stop. So at this point, we'll open the door, do the bar pull. And then it's going to move incrementally 1 inch off the part, and then that's the end. So looking at this, we have an M5 and an M9. So that's spindle stop and coolant off. In most cases, M0 will stop the spindle and turn off the coolant, I believe. But if your machine doesn't do that, then we should put these two codes inside here. So we moved 1 inch off the part and we got some M codes, and then the next move is moving to this safe location. So that's kind of taken care of. All right, so we're back in Fusion. I'm just gonna add that M5 and M9 here just as a safety thing. So I have two NC programs here, the Samsung, which we've been looking at, and then the Haas. I just wanted to post it out of two different post processors just to see if it worked on multiple machines. So here's what I added, the M5 and M9. Those are still down here, which is not going to cause any problems. And then everything else. So this looks like it should work. And then let me look at the Haas one. So put it in basically the same spot. All the code is here, and it looks like it should work. And then it's still going to its safe location. And I think we're good. So we want to be able to use this regularly, but we don't want to have to retype all that every time. So how we do that is if we right click on our manual NC toolpath here, and down here next to the bottom, store as template. So I'm going to rename this template. Maybe I'll call it manual bar pull. I can put in a description if I want, but I know what it is. And I'm going to put this in my cloud library. So if you don't have cloud libraries turned on, make sure you have that turned on through your settings. And then I'll save this. All right, now I'm going to delete this manual NC just to show you how this works if this isn't here. So if I come to any part that doesn't have this manual bar pull, all I have to do is right click on my setup, create from template, manual bar pull, and it puts that code as my next toolpath. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, all that stuff, and catch me in the next video. Thank you.